Oh, Tay. Oh, Tay. Super exciting today. Oh, Tay. Super exciting today. We'll be talking about building a coding portfolio. So our questions for today, all about building that coding portfolio, which is super exciting. A couple people are going to jump on here, and hopefully we're going to have some great chats about how to build your coding portfolio, which is awesome because I know lots of people have been wondering about how to do that. So we're going to jump right in and start answering some questions. Good morning, Ziad. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you, Olivia?
Very good. As Dom said, we're doing very great this morning. Good stuff. I know allergy season is coming around. We have a couple people like not feeling too hot, which is totally understandable for this time of year. I know we get snow mold over here, so
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah.
definitely. Okay, cool. We have some of our creators joining. Hello, Dom. How are you? Awesome. I love that. Really good. Doing really good as well. Love that positive outlook for the day. Fantastic. I know Louise is just trying to connect here. It looks like he's in. So
Hi.
let's get started. Good morning. How are you doing?
Great. How about you guys?
Great. Look at this positivity this morning. I love it. I'm going to carry that with me for the rest of the day. I'm very much enjoying this. So today we're talking about building a coding portfolio because we got a ton of questions last time about this. So that's going to be our topic today. Feel free to shoot some questions in the chat. We're here to answer all of your chat questions. It's always really important. So feel free to drop questions you may have and we'll get to them at the end. But let's jump right into it. So our first question is, where should I start if I want to build a coding portfolio? Let's start with Dom. Where do you start if you're trying to build a coding portfolio? Dom, our viewers are saying that they can't hear you.
Guys,
Ziad, can you hear
on the line?
can you hear Dom? Ziad?
I heard him just fine.
I heard you too. That's very odd. Okay, what is happening here? Very odd. Thank you for putting this in the chat. There's no noise apparently on our Zoom, so let me just jump in and see.
Is it better now?
Very odd. I don't know. I mean, we're gonna keep talking, so feel if you can't hear us, like keep dropping it in the chat. I'm gonna play around with it.
I mean, I'll try to rejoin.
Yeah, it looks like you're actually muted. Maybe it has in the top right.
I mean, I'm not. I just tried to. Yeah, now. I mean, when I speak, I can see my mic.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, now it's okay. I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
I definitely wasn't on mute. If you heard me, nice. Okay, I can see everybody can hear me now. So yeah, let me repeat that what I said a bit shorter now. So yeah, like.
Where should I start if we're trying to build a coding portfolio?
Yeah, so coding portfolios, I would suggest just Googling coding portfolio ideas. Depends on your field, back and front end. You'll get a lot of great ideas just by Googling that. And the other thing I would suggest, maybe go to Figma community because you have loads of different designs there that can be pretty unique. So that's always a plus if something like that is unique. So those two ways are my ways. Now, okay, now you hear me, so it's good. I don't need to repeat it for the third time.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. What a weird start to our live this morning. We'll pass over to Ziad for this one. How would you start building your coding portfolio? Like, what are the first steps?
It's a good question. I think It largely depends on like where you are in your career, I guess. Like if you're just starting out and like all you have is really just a few side projects and stuff like that, then it's really important to kind of find like the right kind of template that works for you. It's similar to what Dom said, where like looking up like examples online is really helpful because some people already have like a couple of internships maybe, and now they're looking for like full time careers or something like that. So like highlighting your professional working experience is definitely like a very different portfolio website than highlighting like side projects, for example. So I would definitely agree with Dom that like researching is the right way to go about it. And the cool part is that you could like code your own portfolio website, but there's like a ton of like really easy kind of like builder ways to do it online. Like I know a lot of people end up going on like GitHub pages, and that's like a good way to like just build a really simple one pretty quickly. But definitely like look up designs and see what kind of matches your experience before starting out.
That's a great input. I love that. Do you have anything to add to this? Like, how would you start building your coding portfolio, or if you have an example of how you specifically started building it?
Sorry, Dwayne. Seems like people can't hear you.
What is happening today?
Try to mute yourself and then unmute. I did that and it worked.
Can you hear me now?
Awesome. It looks like we can. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, so weird. I've never had this happen. Sorry, continue. Back to the ring.
Yeah, so basically to summarize what I said, you should start with easier projects and build your way up if you're starting from zero. Do research, start with easier projects for your portfolio, especially if you're starting from nothing, you have no experience. Start with the easier projects and work your way up.
Definitely. Those are really good answers. I also just want to give a big thank you to everybody in the chat for chirping in when we can't hear people. So thank you guys so much. Like we don't know what you guys are seeing on your side. So thanks for getting in there. So that's great. Great answers. We'll jump to the next question here. So which project should I have in my portfolio? So say you've been in the industry for a while and you have like a variety of projects you worked on. Which of those should you really be focused on putting them into that portfolio? Let's start with Ziad on this one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the ones that show like the most kind of like technical comprehensiveness in a way. So like I think we've all mentioned like the calculator project is probably not the best one to put on there, and like the reason behind that is because it's like it's generic and it basically it just shows that you know how to like code, like you just know how to like write basic code, and I think that. I mean, if that's kind of where you're starting out at, like when you're very, very early and you're applying to like your very first like either jobs or contracts or something like that, then like sure, like you want to show that you just like know a programming language. But I think that once you advance a little bit and you're like applying to maybe like full time positions or more like advanced like professional software engineering roles, you're definitely going to want to show that like you're you understand like deep technical knowledge. So like if you're a web developer, for example, and that's like what you want to do, then make like definitely try to put on a website that shows that you have a really deep understanding of like HTML and CSS, not just like the fundamentals, but for example, a lot of people struggle with like creating cool animations with CSS, for example. So like if that's something that you're really really confident in, then like showing that through some projects that really utilize that would be important because it would show that you're not just like the average web developer, but you have like a pretty deep technical understanding in your field. So I think yeah, like pick and choose those projects, and if you don't have those projects, then definitely like start working on them so you can put them on that portfolio website.
Definitely. I know that Ziad definitely has done a lot of passion projects. So he is, I would say, one of the people to go through if you have any questions on like what projects to do. Because I know you have quite a few in your portfolio. And yes, it is already Wednesday. I can't believe the week has flown by. I saw that comment in the chat. I love that people already know, like, we're here every Wednesday. So feel free to join because we're definitely excited to talk about tech with you guys. So Dom, jump in here. What projects do you put on your portfolio if you're kind of into your career? Like how do you know which ones to not add and which ones to add?
Sure. So I would say that the most important project is your personal website, especially if you're going into front-end development, for a couple of reasons. First is that whatever you think, many recruiters and many developers will never see your website, and let alone portfolios, because they have a lot of applications and they're busy. So it's not like they're gonna look at all your projects in depth and look at that code. So not too many people will see your portfolio projects. That's why I suggest focusing on the website. Make a beautiful website with a lot of animations, with a lot of cool stuff. Just it should showcase your engineering skills. And also an important trick is don't just add a link to your resume, because just a couple of people will click on it. What you can do instead, that's what I did on my resume. I literally had like the biggest text on that resume was click me and an arrow which was pointing to my website. And then when I added that, people actually started clicking. I have analytics, so I followed. Before I put that, I literally got like 3 views on my website. So nobody clicked on that because that was just like a link on my resume. And I mean, I don't want to be evil, but yeah, people don't care that much about your website. But when they see something massive like that, it's like, oh yeah, I need to click it. And after I put that click me banner and an arrow, I got like 30 views, which is 10x more. So yeah, I got way more views. So I would suggest that definitely have a nice website, highlight it somewhere on your resume, and then add some cool projects like non-unique, like some unique projects. But I would say focus more on just having a great website, because yeah, it's like people are really busy. They just don't have the time to deeply inspect your portfolios. So you should do more of that for just practicing. It's a really good thing for you if you have unique projects, and maybe you will get a job because of them. But for the purpose of getting a job, just focus on your website the most.
Definitely. I've seen Dom's website. You did a really good job with it. It's very cool. It's very interactive. And there is that giant button that says click me on it. It's great. It looks good. Dweez, let's jump over to you. What would you kind of put in your portfolio project if you've ever done one before, or what would you recommend jumping in to put one in?
Yeah, I think for this one, I would go with Dom as well. Like, you should have a website, but I didn't know the fact that it depends how your website looks. They may or may not. Like, Dom had to add the whole box with the click me on it for them to go in. But I think if you can manage to have one regardless, it should also be a nice testament to yourself that, okay, I know how to develop a website, and you may be more confident going in the job market and your job hunting. So I think for that it may do well for you as a developer. And also I think if you have a nice website where you display like certain things that you are good at, like you can do different animations, for example, and really show the HR like what you're good at. I think that can help you a lot as well.
Definitely. That's a really good answer. I would, from my perspective, like just portfolios in general, I think it helps you stand out in the application process. Like some people don't have portfolios to begin with. So it's super helpful just to showcase then your like your new job can kind of see like what you can do and you have real life experience to that. So if you have the opportunity to build a portfolio, I would super recommend it. And I know the guys on my right side here would also extremely recommend it as well. So if you're new to tech or if you're just in it, feel free. This is your time to start building that out. Great answers. Awesome. So if you guys have any, are live stream today is all about building a coding portfolio. So if you have any questions related to that or any questions about tech in general, feel free to drop them in the comments. We'll be answering them throughout the live. And we are here every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern time. And I think I always get that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct, and I'll double check. So our next question here is, how long will it take before I get my first job in tech? Who wants to jump in and answer this one?
I can.
Yeah, there's a lot of dependables on this, I feel like. So just jump into whatever you see fit.
Yeah, sure. So how long does it take before to get a first job in tech? Yeah, it depends on so many different things. I'll assume that you don't have a CS background and that you want to break into tech, because yeah, if you plan to go to CS college, then like the answer is for 4 years, or even more. So yeah, I assume that you want to break into tech with a non-CS background. In that case, minimum is, I would say, around 6 months, and you need to be like really not just consistent, but really like obsessed with getting a job and like practicing every day, learning new things every day, coding every day, joining different communities on Twitter, Reddit, everything, like just to. So yeah, that's like, I would probably, some people have done it even in less than 6 months, but I would say 6 months is a bare minimum if you're like really, really into it. Uh, More like, I would say that, yeah, probably like a year is more likely. Year and a half. If you have a decent tempo, so you occasionally code like 3-4 times a week. If you follow some courses and everything, so you're not burning yourself out with coding, I think you should be able to get it in a year and a half. That's the most common thing. More than that, of course, it can happen like 2 years, but yeah, if you put effort in it, like you can get a coding job for sure in year and a half. I would say that's pretty realistic.
Great answer. Dweez and Zia, do you guys have anything to add on to this kind of answer here with how long it kind of takes to get a job, or different perspective that you guys can provide?
Yeah, I think I just to add on to Dom, like that's exactly like what I went through pretty much. Like it took me about like a year to a year and a half before I was like personally comfortable enough to get into a tech job. Like maybe a little bit earlier, but like it's also kind of a confidence thing as well, because you're going to be working with other people and people will be depending on you and stuff like that. So I think that's a very accurate answer from personal experience.
Fantastic. Cool. Amazing. Great encapsulation of it, Dom. We appreciate that. So I know we have our first couple questions in the chat. We'll jump right into them. I hope I'm saying this correctly. Is Chat GPT a threat to SE? Dom, do you want to answer this one?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, it's a really cool thing for you that don't know about it. Chat GPT is kind of like that. I would say really advanced AI that you can ask him or it like any question, and he will reply not just with like one simple answer, but with like a complex answer, and you can ask follow-up questions. So it's like a really advanced AI. And yeah, that is true. Like you can ask him, I don't know, how can I upload file to AWS, I don't know, S3 bucket with JavaScript, and he will probably give you the perfect function how to do that. So is it a threat to software engineering? That was the question. I wouldn't say it's a threat. So it's definitely it's a help, and we as humans are advancing all the time, and we're just automating things. We started a couple of hundred of years ago with like industrial revolution and machines and everything. Now we have artificial intelligence, so we can actually replace like non-physical jobs too with artificial intelligence. But that's all help. So even if software engineering gets replaced completely by AI, humanity will just discover new, even cooler jobs to do than coding. That probably won't happen that soon, so don't worry. Like, you still have a lot of time to learn coding and build systems and everything, so it's not going to happen soon. But maybe at some point in the future, yeah, that's going to happen. The same thing that happened with, I don't know, factories and like machines replaced workforce there, and that's a good thing because we are now doing better jobs. So if the same things happen with coding, yeah, that will just mean that we found better jobs to do.
Definitely. Great answer. Like, and compare like factories to now and like how those jobs have kind of changed. That was really good. Just jumping back to our last question, we have a couple comments just about how to get your first kind of job out of coding. And I totally agree with it's MZ codes. The first job is always the hardest one to get. And I completely agree with that. And I feel like the guys on my right can also relate to that. The first one is very difficult because you don't have a lot of experience and they don't know how you're going to work. And then Faith, who had joined us last year live stream, had just commented also about jobs, and she says, I'd suggest to get a tech adjacent job first to get your foot in the door at the developer space is competitive, which I think everybody can attest to that the developer space is quite competitive. Hey, yeah, definitely. Cool. So we'll jump into our next question here, just on my left. So how did you build your coding portfolio? Like, can it only be built on a website? Like, can you take it in a different direction than that? Does anybody want to jump in and kind of give their opinion or how they have personally built their own coding portfolio? Like, I know Dom built his on a website, but is there different ways that you can do it?
I've seen some like pretty crazy ones. Like I personally did mine on like a just GitHub pages, and like that was good enough for me just to like outline my experiences. But I saw some people online. I think like this was even on TikTok where I saw it, where like people would make like a game as like their portfolio. I don't know if you guys saw it, but this guy made it so that like his portfolio website is basically you go to it and then it's like a car that you can like drive around a
Cool.
screen, and the car, like as you drive around you can see like his different experiences like just in like the terrain of the place that he created. So that's like really overkill in my opinion, because like it takes like a really long time, and it's not like it's kind of like Dom said, like most people won't actually view your portfolio website, but sometimes it's just like the fact that you have one, like makes a difference. It shows that like you've put in effort and you want to like showcase some of your work. So like I personally wouldn't like go that far with it. I would really just like try to put your work in like a really organized way that looks good enough, but and not like really scrappy or anything like that, but not overkill, because like the majority of people won't see it in a sense. So yeah, I would use just like GitHub pages or like some website builder, just to build like something really simple.
Perfect. Louise, do you have anything to kind of add on to that? Because I know anything you want to jump in?
Mm-hmm.
I know he is dealing with allergies right now, but he just jumped off to take care of that. But I'll jump to Dom.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything to add.
Okay, for sure. Dom, do you have anything more? I know you're a big website guy, but is there any other ways that you can kind of build it? That was a great example, by the way, Ziad.
Yeah, thanks, Ziad, for sharing that. That was great. I'll share a story about my approach, how I build it. So I done a bit like it was an overkill because I built everything with React, because I actually built quite a complex website, and that website was my portfolio project itself. So I wanted to have like really clean and nice code behind it, and I was also kind of like I wanted other interviewers to go to source code and take a look at portfolio and project structure and everything. So yeah, you can build it like that too. If you want to build something quickly, then yeah, just some website builder. But if you want to showcase your coding skills, then just build it yourself. Like, you can even use a framework like React. React doesn't need to be used only for massive apps. And now, since I use that website for my own for personal things, I'm really happy that I did it in React, because it's much easier. I can extend anything. It's like, yeah, you can literally do anything with React, and with website builders or everything else, I would be quite limited.
Definitely. Great answers, you guys. We have another question in the chat here, and I think Dom wants to take this one. So the next question is it better to use the framework like Axis and Next.js, and I think it's Auto, or to code it myself?
Yep. So, yeah, a couple of frameworks were mentioned, like Axios, that's basically a library for communicating with external APIs. And I don't think you need to use Axios, so you can use native fetch from JavaScript. It's powerful enough. I don't think that Axios brings you anything special. You can use it. I'm indifferent about it. But personally, I don't use it. I just use native fetch because I don't like to be dependent on external libraries if I don't need to be. Because at one point that library could get updated and your app will break. Then you will need to fix it and everything. So if you don't need to be dependent on external libraries, don't. However, for Next.js and Auth0, that's a completely different thing because Next.js is basically a framework. So don't try to code Next.js on your own. Next.js is a framework for server-side rendering for React. And yeah, definitely don't try code it on your own. That's almost like asking, should I code React on my own or use React? So yeah, definitely use React. Don't code it on your own. And the same goes with Auth0. So Auth0 is used for those things like single sign-on, sign in with Google, and stuff like that. You've all seen that across the net. And authentication can be pretty tricky, and I definitely don't suggest implementing it on your own because it's going to be really hard. You will probably have bugs, and if you screw up something with authentication, you can have real problems. So yeah, always just use those services.
Fantastic. That's a great explanation. I hope that answered your question in the chat there. We have a couple more coming in. Feel free to join any questions. Like, it doesn't have to be portfolio related. Like, it could just be tech in general. This next one is more of a tech in general question. So the question is, so someone in the chat is a little bit lost in like a computer system engineering course and is confused on which road that they do. So like, how would you kind of deal with that? Dweez, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, so first of all, there were many different fields, many different directions you can take in tech. You can get into app development. Someone mentioned in the chat as well, like, why are you guys only talking about software development? There were many different fields indeed. So you should look at all of these different fields. So data analysis, software engineering, game development, data sciences, and so on. Look into the different fields, and maybe you have an affinity for one of them more than the other before you get learning. Make sure that, okay, this is what I want to do. You may change your mind about it. Personally, for me, I started with web development, and then that shifted towards game development, which is the reason why I know C Sharp. I learned it for game dev. And then, yeah, you can use that language for more stuff as well. So it was a good language. But you should definitely do your research first before jumping into it, because you may find out later that there's something else that you would have liked to do and you didn't because you didn't research. So yeah, I definitely advise everyone to look into the different fields before picking a roadmap or track.
Definitely. That's a great encapsulating answer there, Dweez. Thank you so much for sharing. And I know we have some people in the chat saying that they're a big fan of us, so thank you so much. We do share a lot of this content that we're talking about on our TikTok channel, so feel free to follow us. And we're always taking advice from people on what to post or what you want to hear about as well. So feel free to drop anything that you definitely want to see. Before this conversation, I didn't know what chat, I think it's GPT or GDT or something like that. I didn't know what that was. So we can definitely make some more content based around that as well. So the next question, again, is more of a generalization question about tech. So where would somebody start with no experience in coding? Anyone want to jump in and answer that?
Yeah, I guess like if you want to learn how to code but you have zero experience is essentially the question. Yeah, I think we've mentioned this a couple times. Like the easiest thing to do would be to just like utilize the insane amount of online resources that are out there just to like test the waters and see kind of what it is that you might want to get into. Because like similar to the previous question, there's just like so much like breadth when it comes to tech. There's like web development, app development, databases, DevOps, like quality assurance. There's so many different things that you can get into. And like there's also like data science and data analysis and all these like different fields, and wanting to get into tech is like the first step. Like you kind of like want, you like the industry, you like what it's about, and stuff like that. But then like the next step in my opinion would be to really like, just even watch like a YouTube video or something like explaining like what these different roles are and what different fields in tech actually do, and see what interests you. I think like once you have that kind of set in stone, or like that there's one particular like field that you would at least like to like get into and see if it's right for you, then you can start taking like the more serious steps, like signing up for a course or a boot camp or something like that, so you can like actually start really learning and becoming like a professional in that field. That's my opinion.
Definitely dip your toes in first, see if you like it to start, because you don't want to join something halfway through and be like, I actually don't like this very much. So YouTube is a great place to start. Totally agree. Our next question in the chat, thank you for sharing, by the way, Ziad, is do you think there are too many React-based frameworks? Dom, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I do think there are too many React-based frameworks, libraries, but that's due to a reason that React itself, it's actually not a framework, it's just a library. So when you think about other front-end true frameworks like Vue or Angular, they already have everything included. So you already have the default option for routing, for state management. In React, you don't have to, because React is just a small library, and if you don't have, I don't know, another state management library like Redux or like 70 others, like you won't be able to use React properly. Same goes with routing and everything. Like you need to add an external library for everything in React. And then when you add those things together, then you have like a complete flat framework, like for example Vue or Angular. So is there too many of them? Probably, and they come too often. For example, in Vue, you had for state management Vuex, and it was primary state management for years, and now we have Pinia, which is slowly replacing Vuex, and that's it. Like in the span of, I don't know how many years, you had like two state management libraries. For React, I don't even want to start, so you have like so many of them. But yeah, it's just a nature of it, because React by itself, it's not complete, so you need to add other things, because everything is open source, anyone can develop its own version, and that's just how it is. Still, if you use the most like common tools, like how it, I'm not even sure what's the main like state management library at the moment, but yeah, before I knew it was Redux, like way before. Don't use, yeah, I wouldn't recommend Redux now. I've never liked it, but yeah, try to like use the most common libraries, the most familiar ones with strongest communities, and then you'll be fine.
Great answer. That was a lot of information, but that was really in-depth. Awesome answer, Dom. I love it. Okay, cool. So our next question in the chat, again, feel free to dump any questions that you have in our chat box. We're here to answer anything that you guys are kind of wondering about. So our next question is from Amy, it looks like. Any recommendations where to learn React? Are there any good courses that you guys can recommend? Louise, do you want to jump in? Louise, sorry to interrupt. We can hear you again. Do you want to try to mute and unmute?
Now?
Can you guys hear us now, possibly? No sound,
No sound.
looks like. Can relay the information back, definitely, but I'd rather them hear from, oh, it looks like yes, maybe now.
Yes? Yeah,
Muted.
so I was just saying there are many different sources that you can use to learn React. There's free Codecamp, Codecademy, YouTube videos, and all of that. That should teach you the skills of React. So you can learn the library online. Most of these, what I mentioned, are free as well. So if you want to learn more about React, you can take it. But again, it's not about learning the language. It's about learning the skill sets around the, yeah, in this case, it's not a language, it's a library. But it's not like it, I see a lot of people asking which language should I learn to get a job, which frameworks should I learn. And I think rather than learning a specific language, you should be focusing more on which skill set can I learn. For example, at Practicum, we teach like data analysis and software engineering. Like, you want to think in that direction rather than learning just the individual languages. What do you guys think?
Great.
Yeah, I think like it's also like you learn how to learn in a sense because in tech especially like things are changing so fast and like new technologies are coming out very very frequently. So you're never gonna like just stop learning in a sense like if you work in tech. So like learning how to find these courses online and learning how to like get the knowledge you need to be pretty valuable in this industry is really important. So that's another thing to keep in mind as well. In addition to everything Dweez said, it was very on point.
Definitely. Knowledge is power. Anything you want to lastly add there, Dom?
I don't think so. Guys said it perfectly well.
Awesome. Great answer, Dweez. Thank you so much. So I know we're getting lots of questions still about the GDP. What was the first part of it? Was it code GDP?
Chat GPT.
Yes. So let's go back to that. Let's talk about that a little bit more because I'm curious to learn more about it as well. So do you want to kind of expand on what it is, Dom?
Yep, for sure. So Chat GPT is kind of like that AI, which you can ask like open-end questions, and you get like really complex replies. You can ask follow-ups and everything. And yeah, people are concerned like, will that replace software engineers? Because they've seen like a lot of great examples how ChatGPT just showcases great code snippets. However, those are still just code snippets. So a couple of lines of code, like production applications, have thousands of different files, some of them like hundreds of thousands and millions lines of code. So you still need to glue all those files together, and you need to architect the app, and you have so many other problems when you want to create a large app. So you cannot say to ChatGPT, I don't know, create me a Slack, because you have so many different things, or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. You have so many different things, like different small things, that AI is not that advanced yet, and its coding is just a part of software engineering. So coding is just a tool to build things in that digital world, but you still need to know what you need to build. You still need to break larger problems into smaller problems. So, for example, I don't know, you're building Facebook, like that's not enough. Like you need to break that problem into many smaller problems, and then smaller and smaller and smaller, and repeat until you get to like a super small problem. And AI currently cannot do that. I don't think it will do that soon. At one point, maybe it will, but there's like a lot of other problems, like what even to do. Like there's a lot of like memes about the clients that don't even know how to explain things to developers, and even developers when they communicate with the clients, they still don't build what they want because of that lack of communication. So yeah, that's just one of examples, but there are so many other things even in coding, much more complicated things, and other things like design and product management and what to build and how to build. So yeah, don't worry, don't worry at this moment. So yeah, feel free to jump into software engineering, learn it, and when that possibly starts to happen, like you will be able to transition easily to something else, because it's not like developers will lose their jobs and everyone on the earth will lose their jobs. So yeah, don't worry about that.
Definitely. Great answer, Dom. That's perfect. So it was a little bit of a shorter conversation today about portfolio building. And everybody kind of asked all their questions here. So I think we'll end it here for today. Unless any of the creators, do you guys want to add anything else onto our conversation about portfolio building or anything related to kind of what we were talking about today with some of the questions that we had in the chat? I'll open the floor one last time.
Yeah, so for Chat GPT, with it's what Tom was saying earlier as well. Going back to the question that was in the chat, someone asked if it's a threat to software engineering. I think it's, Dom touched on this earlier as well. It's about the development that takes place. Like throughout history, we started with factories and then building machines, and then it continued on from the steam engine to electricity, for example. With with software, it's the same. Like we started with the binary code, right? And it continued on from zeros and ones that evolved into programming languages we know today. And these programming languages, maybe 50 years from now, people are going to look at them like, huh, Python. People are going to see it as some ancient concept. Like the same way I see binary code now, like the programming or tech as we know today was built up on that. I think it's going to go down a similar path. We are starting now with an AI. You just type in the question and it generates an answer for you. I think maybe that's going to be the future of technology. And this is just the start of it. It's always going to be developing. So yeah, I'm curious and excited to see how it will develop in the future.
Me too. Very great answer. Ziad, is there anything else you wanted to add to the convo? I know you were gonna speak up there for a minute.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, talking about GPT-3 is always fun. I've personally played around with it, so would definitely love to open more conversations about it in the future.
Maybe that can be a topic for next time. Dom, any last words before we kind of close out for today?
No, I think that's all good. Thanks everyone for gifts and attention and everything, of course.
Awesome. So it's a little bit of a shorter one today. We'll have a longer topic for next week. So feel free to join. We're here every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern time. We're so excited that you guys can follow here, and make sure you follow our account because we have a lot of great resources that we provide that. And we will see you all next Wednesday. Thank you.